Yeah, there's a lot of rumors and myths going on. It seems like it's almost a moving target about what's eligible, what's not, what qualifies, what's not, what you can spend it on, what's not. So I don't even know how you stay in front of it at this point.
It is a moving target, and I think that the important thing is for my business anyways, is we tell our clients up front that I'm going to tell you what is known today, but I'm also going to tell you that's going to change. We don't know what it's going to change like, but we know that because this crisis is so big and the government's trying to do so much that they're changing things. They came out with this $3 trillion so quickly without a real great plan of how they were going to account for it, who could apply, how you get forgiven. So it's constantly changing. So we spent literally countless hours just reading through all this and staying up to date. And like you said, the rumor mill is vicious. So we always tell everyone, make sure you're talking to someone who knows the legislation, not your politicians who are talking about changes they want, but the legislation itself. Because there's a lot of people talking about, oh, we want it to be like this, or it should be for this. And that's just, in many cases, not the case.
Yeah, and it's almost like there's some pretty broad categories. So I mean, so there's two main loan programs federally first. Maybe we can start talking about those. I think those are where most of the small business assistance coming from, isn't it?
Yeah. So the two main ones out there are the disaster loan and what is called the Paycheck Protection Program, or PPP, which is what everyone knows it as. So the disaster loan came out first. Okay, and so a disaster loan is normally used, Ren, just I'll be brief on this, is normally when there's a natural disaster, a hurricane, a flood, an earthquake, and it destroys a certain region of the country. And the government steps in and gives out loans to business owners to help them get back on their feet after their business has been flooded or an earthquake has demolished their building. Well, COVID-19 was declared a disaster. So the government initially put $7 billion in that program for people to apply for. And then there's the Paycheck Protection Program. So the disaster loan, to go back on that, is a traditional loan. They're long-term loans, typically 30 years in length, and they're low interest. So for the COVID-19, they're 3.75% interest rates. So really low. I mean, it's the best interest rates businesses can get. And people can use those funds for a variety of areas of their business. There isn't too much you can't use it for, and we can go in detail later if you need to know. And then PPP came out, which really kind of took the lead here of help to what people thought was small businesses. So PPP was part of the $3 trillion CARE Act. It put $350 billion, and it made it available to small businesses. Okay, where there was some confusion on that is it's called the Paycheck Protection Program. It's meant for the businesses to then pay their employees. That's what it's meant for. Okay, I think a lot of businesses now have gotten the feeling like, hey, shouldn't this just be money for me and my business? But that's not what it was for. So there's a lot of confusion from that. But those were the two big ones out there. Now, since this has all started, the disaster loan now has $60 billion in there, which means the Treasury has given it $60 billion to hand out, which they're continuing to do. And PPP ended up being a total of just over $600 billion. So it came out in two phases. The first one was 349. The second one was 310 billion. And there's still money left with both of those funds.